Thank you for joining us on this new thrilling adventure of our Lunch and Learn series, in which we will guide you through an expedition through life at Wood. We'll be showcasing a new profession every month and providing you with a comprehensive glimpse into their daily routine, from sunrise all the way to sunset, their contributions, and the distinctive duties and obligations that they bear in their role. This is the type of content that you have all asked for, and we hope to inspire you to take a role in energy. So today I have the pleasure of interviewing Stephanie Woodell, and she is an amazing employee at Wood who has a leadership role, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about herself and what she does today. And then we're going to get into the fun things, which is, what do you do for a living? What does that look like? And what does your day look like? So thank you, Stephanie, for being here today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Really excited for the conversation.
Looking in terms of, I want to know a little bit more of like the work-life balance. You mentioned you have a son, family, and I know from the controllers that I know, it's crunch time every quarter or even at the end of the month because you guys have to kind of like present the numbers, and they disappear for like a week. Like you cannot get a hold of them. So I wanted to know, like, is that very similar? I'm assuming in your world it is, where it's like a certain weeks or certain days where you're like, nobody talked to me. How do you handle, because it is very, I think there's a lot of pressure there because at the end of the day, they're waiting for these numbers. So how do you deal with that? And especially with your son or with your family, like, do they know, mom is in that time of the month where she's busy,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it is one that I think, I get asked that question sometimes, how do you manage the work-life balance? And I do think it is for each person, it looks so different. And I'll say even each role that I've been in, it's looked slightly different. So currently the role that I'm in is a global role. So actually most of my team, I office in Houston, most of my team offices in the UK. So currently I'll start my day really early before anyone in the house is awake, get an hour or two of work done, and then I'll pause for an hour and a half, get my daughter, she's 8, get her up for school, get her ready for school and out the door, and then get my son, same thing, get him up, get him ready, get him out the door, and then go on about my day. And then depending on what sports we've got in the afternoon, and then my husband works full time as well. So between the two of us, we flex that. I will say, they are definitely aware that there are some times when, mom's going to be at the office late or mom's going to be logged on quite late. I have over my career tried to really focus on figuring out what's really important for me. So if I want to be at that sports practice or if I want to be at that game on a Thursday night, but I know I've got a lot going on and have a deadline looming, then I'll figure out how to make that work for me personally. And sometimes that looks like leave the office at 4 or 5 or turn my computer off at 4 or 5, go to that game and then log back on in the evening. And it works for me. And I'm completely, comfortable doing that. And again, I think it is a personal decision and it takes a lot of flexibility. And my husband is wonderful and takes a lot of slack as well. So I think having that kind of partnership and having someone, whether it's a husband, a parent, a friend, a neighbor, to kind of help when you do have those kind of really busy times. To your point, it's cyclical. So there are days or weeks that do become more challenging than others. It's invaluable to have that help and really just understanding that, you have to do what makes sense for you. And that looks a little bit different for every single person. And, I'm really grateful Wood has always been a place that's been very flexible regarding that. So you need to get the work done and there's expectations there, but at the same time, there's a load of flexibility for you to kind of figure out what works for you. And so that's been the way I've managed it for my career. And, it's worked for us and certainly worked for me personally. So
I'm glad you shared that. It's kind of the $1 million question that people always have, especially for women who are in leadership positions or who have climbed up, the corporate ladder, is like, how do you do it all? And I one thing I really stood out in your conversation was when you said, like, you've got to figure out what are priorities for you and what matters, because you can't do it all. You can't go to every single game. You can't go to every single after school activity. So I'm glad you mentioned, like, what are those things that, like, I really care about that I want to show up for my kids for? And those are the things that you do, and you kind of just make it work where you work late at night, et cetera. So I think that's really good advice. On the topic of your initial bio, when you mentioned, you said no twice to a job that was a promotion, and that they knew that Stephanie can do this, because they wouldn't be offering it to you if they didn't think that you were qualified and can do it. Tell us a little bit about that, because I think a lot of people listening, especially women, they will relate to that and feel like they've done that maybe, or we're just worried that we can't handle it, especially maybe because we have a young family, etc. But you said that that was probably the most pivotal moment in your career, and it brought you to where you are today. So I would hate
Yeah.
to see other women miss out on those opportunities. So I think we can learn a lot from you. And kind of, can you walk us through when maybe they offered it to you and how you said no twice? I'm glad they came back a second time. So it says a
Yeah.
lot about the leadership team, but tell us a little bit about that, and maybe some advice you can give to younger girls who will eventually be faced with a young family and a promotion.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, you hit it spot on in that I think oftentimes I'll put myself in this camp. As women, you have young children, you kind of think you can't do it all. And to your point, to the previous conversation, sometimes you do have to make minor sacrifices based on the things that are, not as important to you, and you can flex on those. But I think taking that step back, and to your point, realizing that oftentimes the leadership team that's around you, if they're offering you an opportunity, they're offering you that opportunity because they have the faith in you, that they know that you can do it, and that you've got a support network around you that will help you get to the place that you need to be. And it was just that. It was, I was a mother of a really young son, and wanted to make sure that I had the time to do all of those things, and hadn't yet had to kind of work through, how do I flex work with home and being a mom and doing all of those things. So it was getting over that hurdle, and it's really scary. So I'll equate it to coming back to work when you have a newborn baby. You almost just can psych yourself out on that first day, but you just have to get over that hurdle to realize, like, I can do this. I can find a balance that works for me, and I can do it. And so it was getting over that first hurdle. And I was really, really grateful that the leadership team that was there at the time really did give me that opportunity. So they didn't take it as Stephanie doesn't want to progress in her career. It was really, they saw, and I communicated why I was fearful in taking the role. And they in a supportive way pushed me to take the role, and kind of gave me that confidence that I could do it, and we could work out a schedule that worked for me. And I think that was the point in my career where I realized, saying no to opportunities sometimes is the right thing to do, because it truly doesn't fit for you, and that, and you've had the time to kind of evaluate that and get to that position. But also saying no just solely out of fear that it's something new or something different, or I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to make this work, is probably not the best route oftentimes. That it is, find those people around you that can support you, find those mentors that you can talk to and kind of bounce ideas off of if you are a bit concerned about a new opportunity. But I think it was that's really shaped me to say, if an opportunity is placed on your desk, you should really give it some serious consideration, even if it's one that scares you to no end. That those are the ones that, when you take that step back and go, was this a transformational role in my career and my journey, or what did I take away from it? I think those are oftentimes the ones that you step back and just are, mind blown at how much you took away from that role. So that is a decision that has stood out to me over the last 8-10 years, that as really a turning point for me to say, I don't need to be afraid, and there are people around to help kind of guide me through and support me through some of these more challenging experiences. So
I'm glad you shared that, because I think it's really valuable, knowledge and just advice, because we will be faced that at some point where a big opportunity is going to come in your table. And I like that you said, like, don't say no out of fear. Like, say no out of other reasons that could be more concrete, and you're like, sure that this isn't for you. But if it's fear, then you should tap into that, because it could be life changing or career changing.